So this video is going to cover what are the best sniper support options inside Warzone Season 4 after the reloaded update. We also got an update yesterday going over some slight changes to sniper rifles, which we will cover in a video later on today going over the best snipers. But for now, we're going to cover the sniper support guns. If you do enjoy this style of content, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link and subscribe to our second channel. As always, the first thing we're going to do is go over the numbers. So we're mainly looking at TTKs here. Obviously, we kind of know what the recoil of most guns feel like, even though they did adjust them for the most part. Some assault rifles got a slight adjustment to recoil, SMGs also as well. But we can also get a good idea of what the best sniper support guns are just based off the TTKs alone, because mainly we're looking at close range TTKs and that kind of mid-range TTK as well. So when it comes to assault rifles, the main TTK we're kind of focusing on is the close range, because we know that they're better than SMGs at long range, and that's the only other kind of category we can look at. So let's look at assault rifles first, TTK range. Obviously we've got the S4.R here, which has been kind of a meta sniper support gun for a while now, so if you haven't really used this as a sniper support, then make sure you give it a go. As you can see here now with the changes to the Nikita assault rifle, and on top of that I got better recoil buffs with the recent update. This is definitely going to be a solid sniper support gun. People were asking about yesterday's video with the assault rifles, why it wasn't included. It's not really that good at super long ranges, but for sniper support, as you can see, definitely very competitive. Even the second damage range is very good when it comes to TTK with the mixed shot locations we have here. UGM is not really going to be a sniper support because it's an LMG. The same goes for the MG34, same goes for the PKM all the way up till about the FFAR1 here pretty much, because the rest, other than the Volk actually, the Volk's pretty solid too. The rest are all LMGs. They're going to move really way too slow, and for your kind of primary main weapon to have a balance of everything, it needs to have a balance in movement as well, and that's why we can't really choose an LMG in this category. So we have got a couple of good options when it comes to the assault rifles. Cooper Carbine is also pretty solid in this area as well, to be perfectly honest, and it's super easy to use. Switching over to now the SMG category. Now again, we're going to need to focus on the second damage range for these, because obviously in the first damage range they're going to beat out assault rifles, so we need to see how they compare to the assault rifles in the second range. And also we need to mainly focus on recoil control for these SMGs, because assault rifles have a bit better recoil control from the base weapon, whereas SMGs have a bit more crazy recoil. So let's take a look at the TTKs first. So when it comes to the Akimbo Mark 5 in the second damage range, obviously not viable. Arma, like I said, is an extremely solid sniper support gun. This gun by far and away is one of the best, or if not the best SMG in the game right now, especially just for kind of use of everything. Then you've got the Sten, which kind of has a bit too much crazy recoil to make it viable, especially with the meta build. It's just got a fast TTK, but is not really going to be all that viable as a sniper support. Mark 5 still pretty solid, recoil still pretty low to be honest as well. You can build it to be a bit more longer range than the meta build, so definitely still pretty solid. Type 100, the mags are too small. Blixen definitely can be a sniper support as well, still a solid SMG in general. We've got the CX9 there, we've got the Mac 10, we've got the well gun as well. I do think the well gun's a pretty solid sniper support. Before we move on to the top 5 weapons, I do want to give a quick couple of shout outs to certain weapons. So we've got the Blixen, can still be a solid sniper support. Build it more towards recoil control than obviously movement speed, and you'd still have a very solid sniper support gun, as you've seen from the TTK numbers. The recoil control is not quite as easy as before, and obviously TTK is not quite as good as before, but overall it's still a solid gun, still very easy to use. Next we've got the Volk, and the Volk's a very solid gun. The only issue with the Volk, in my opinion, is that it doesn't kill quite as quick enough as you'd potentially maybe like it to, but overall it's still a very solid gun for sniper support. It's got a little bit less recoil than some of the other options on this list, so if you do want something a little bit easier to use, then go for the Volk. And definitely you could change some of the attachments on this build here. Maybe you can use the polymer grip if you're struggling for recoil and things like that. But overall, this is going to give you a good balance between movement and also giving you that TTK potential that you need. And again, like yesterday's 2 videos, we're actually going to give you 6 guns here, because I do think there are actually 6 good sniper support guns. So first of all, we're starting off with the well gun. The well gun's super low recoil. They don't really touch it anymore with any updates, to be fair, so it's going to stay kind of the same consistently through season to season updates. It's a very competitive time to kill weapon as well. The only thing that lets it down a little bit is the mag capacity with 40 rounds, but it's not tiny. like the Type 100 for example, and you will be landing pretty much majority of your shots with this gun anyway, so this is the build for it. So it's the recoil booster, the shrouded barrel for the best possible recoil control, hand stop under barrel for the recoil control, Grenko 40 round mags, which is the best for getting that recoil in the weapon. If you do want slightly larger mags, you will sacrifice some TTK, but it's still a decent weapon with the 64 round mags as well. Lengthened, the polymer grip for recoil control, acrobatic for movement speed. You can also use fleet as well. Perk 2 is quick, remove stock for the movement speed, and the slate reflector. At number 5, we have the do-it-all weapon that everyone's probably going to be using. This is probably going to be the #1 most picked gun in the game, in my opinion, because it can just do pretty much everything. It's a good sniper support, it's a good long-range rifle as well. Still super low recoil, even though it got nerfed. So you do want to use the recoil booster. This is going to give you a slightly faster TTK than what you saw in the spreadsheet, because that is based off of the MX silencer. Cooper custom barrel, which is going to give you the best possible range in TTK. Slate reflector, Cooper 45 stock. You can go for the skeletal for better movement speed, but I'd rather have a bit more kind of control in the weapon. Tight grip, but again, you can go for fleet if you want more movement speed. It's just going to be personal preference here. On hand, I went for tape grip instead for the movement speed, because I feel like this gives you a little bit more of a boost than some of the perks. 60 round drum mags are the best for this gun, lengthened, and then a skeletal under barrel. At number 4, we have the Nikita AVT assault rifle, and this gun is a gun that I get asked a lot of questions about. And to be fair, before it was still a solid sniper support, but now that they buffed the recoil on this gun, it's a little bit easier to manage for the most part. So definitely you could change this build slightly if you are good at controlling recoil, but it's basically like the new Ram 7 essentially, and it's a solid sniper support gun. So for the muzzle, you want to use the F8 stabilizer, and the reason why is because the recoil booster doesn't actually give you a faster fire rate, so it's not going to help your TTK numbers. So the F8 stabilizer will help with the side-to-side recoil and also extend out your damage range. Now if you don't like this and you want a suppressed weapon, then you can go for the Mercury silencer. It won't con your ADS time, which is very handy, but it does still help with that horizontal recoil control. But the stabilizer helps more, of course, so that's why we're going with that one. Then we're using the sniper barrel. Now obviously you're going to get a bit more range and a bit more bullet velocity out of the 613mm BFA, but we are using this as a sniper support, so we're wanting to keep as much movement in the weapon as we can while still getting some range and obviously some recoil control as well. So this is the barrel I would recommend going for. Then you want the slate reflector. You want to use the Zach stock. This is going to help with the side-to-side recoil. It does con your movement a little, but we need to take that sacrifice for the side-to-side recoil control. Then we're using fleet. You can go for perfectionist, because if there is a bit of recoil that you can't manage there, then take that. But obviously this is the only kind of movement attachment we're using here. On hand for better ADS times, polymer grip for the sustained fire accuracy. The 50 round mags are the best mags for the Nikita. Now, even though the 60 round helps with recoil control, which is definitely a benefit, it actually cons your bullet velocity quite a lot. So if you actually check it on the sim.gg website, it cons your bullet velocity kind of way too much. So that's why I wouldn't really recommend it. But other than that, if you were using maybe the longer barrel and making this an assault rifle build, then probably you can go for the 60 round mags. Lengthened and then the hand stop under barrel. If you can control the recoil, then you can go for the skeletal under barrel, which will give you a bit more movement speed. It only cons your vertical recoil, so that's not too much of a con here with this kind of gun, because it is a sniper support build and you can easily manage vertical recoil. At number 3, we have the AS44. I've had this gun in every sniper support list pretty much. The only issue with this is a little bit harder to manage than most of the other weapons in the game, especially with this specific build, which is the fastest possible TTK build. But overall, we've tried to build it to control recoil as much as possible, because that is kind of the main issue with this gun, to be honest. So recoil booster for the faster fire rate, Falchion barrel because it gives you the faster fire rate, and this is what's going to give you that insanely fast TTK. Then you want to use the slate reflector. You want to use the Zach 12A stock, which does con your movement but helps with the side-to-side recoil, which is the main issue with this weapon. Steady perk, because none of the perks help with recoil control. If they did, I would recommend that instead. Then we've got on hand for the better ADS time, polymer grip for the better recoil control. 60 round mags is going to give you the best TTK. If you're struggling with recoil, then go for the 50 round mags. You'll still get a pretty competitive TTK, but you get a bit more recoil control. Then we've got lengthened and then the hand stop under barrel, and I do think this is the only way to build this gun, with the only exception being the magazine. Just swap that out to the 50 round mags if you need a bit more control on the weapon. At number 2 of the Marco 5 SMG, and that is because this gun is kind of settled in the meta as a sniper support gun now. TTKs did get nerfed with the recent update, but this gun is an absolute laser beam somehow. I've seen people beat assault rifles. People have beaten me using an assault rifle with this gun, and it's pretty ridiculous at those kind of ranges, so it is definitely a very solid sniper support, to be perfectly honest. So overall, you do want to use the recoil booster so you can get that TTK. If you do feel like you want a bit more range and control on the weapon, then go for the Mercury or the silencer. Both are really good options still as well, but I'd rather have the recoil booster for the better TTK potential. Amaretto barrel is the best at controlling recoil. Slate reflector, Amaretto stock. Now it does con the recoil a little bit. It does also help with the recoil on top of that, but it gives you movement speed, which you do kind of need with this gun because they have slowed it down a bit. If you don't really care too much about movement, then you can go for the Perfetto stock instead. It's going to give you recoil control. It'll help with your ADS, but it'll con your movement a little. Both are really good options, to be fair. Then for perk, you can choose whatever you want here. It doesn't really matter. Gung-Ho is a pretty solid option if you're running this as an SMG build. Perk 2, quick, obviously. Polymer grip for the recoil control because we will be using this at range. 48 round drums. You can go for the 64 round drums. It'll make this gun an absolute laser. But again, it's going to slow down the movement. So just kind of take that in mind when you are choosing the attachments, but I think the 48 is enough. Lengthened and enhanced up underbarrel to control the recoil. Last but not least, at number 1, my favorite gun in the game right now, and that's the Armageddon. This has been my favorite gun for a while, if you've watched any of our previous videos, but now it's actually kind of like the main meta gun when it comes to SMGs, and that's because it's got super good close range TTK. It's very easy to control in terms of recoil as well, but overall, definitely solid gun. For the sniper support build, you want to build it this way, so recoil booster for the faster fire rate, body barrel for the better damage, and it doesn't drop off for an extra damage range, so you're going to get a huge buff there. Slate reflector, you want to use the folding stock. It's going to con your initial firing recoil, but it gives you better movement speed. If you do feel like you need the control, then go for the standard stock instead. Hard scope for the recoil control, of course, pretty straightforward there. Perk 2 you want to use is quick for better movement speed. Polymer grip for the recoil control. 60 round mags is the best for the Armageddon. Lengthened and enhanced up underbarrel. So there we have it. Those are the 5 best sniper support guns inside Warzone at the minute. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. We will be releasing that sniper video later on today as well. And thank you very much for watching.